Governor, philosophically, some people have said that this is now at least the beginning of reversing what some people see as 30 years of income inequality, or just general inequality in the country. And everybody agrees on a humanitarian basis we'd love to cover everyone would have health care. Do you think that deep down your party knows that perhaps our long-term growth rate could be hurt, but we're willing to accept that to live in a different type of society? We've chosen a different type of society, more akin to Europe?
Fred, I think that depends how you measure growth rate. The inequalities is a problem, and it has been exacerbated over the last, say, 20 or 30 years. So the question is, in a democracy, where does the right balance between those at the top, who 20% of the people do most of this consumer spending and so forth and so on, and those at the bottom? And I think it has, when it gets out of whack, as it did in the 20s and it has now, you need to do some redistribution. This is a form of redistribution. Definitely. If you redistribute too much, then the system doesn't work because you take the incentive out of it. So it's like a machine. You've always got to tune it right.
What about making that tax starting at $250,000? I mean,
well, honestly, I know I got in a big argument with Larry Kudlow about this, who I really think is a wonderful person, and there's a disagreement about this. I don't think an extra 3.8% is going to change incentives dramatically, but it clearly, I mean, if you look at some of the tax ways they tax people in Europe, clearly, if you have too many taxes and you have too much redistribution, then you reduce incentives. So the question is, what is the right balance?
Did you see in 2013, the average tax bill for a household making $1 million is going to jump by $46,000.
That's just for the health care part, I think.
Yeah, but you're making $1 million. $46,000 in discretionary income is not as big as $460 for somebody making $10,000.
But I guess when is the tipping point? I guess that's the question.
Well, that's what you always have to be careful of, and humans are always pushing back and forth, and the pendulum swings.
You know, Governor, we can always, you saw the Nobel laureate Joe Stiglitz. There's different ways of measuring growth anyway, and if we start doing, months spent in the south of France, add that in, rich creamy sauces, better vintage wine. I mean, there's a lot of things we could add in for quality.
Economic value.
Mistresses.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of things in Europe that they do differently than us that you could add into things in Europe that they do differently than us that you could add into GDP, right?
Yeah, I'd prefer to. I think it'd be nice if we had a stronger manufacturing base, and that's one of the things that I worry about.
But that's you. I mean, a fresh croissant. Come on. Anyway, Governor, thank you. Appreciate it. Your time today, and Fred, you got a lot on your mind today.
Well, I do. I find that the governor was very refreshing, though, in his honesty and some of these things. I mean, he acknowledges that this is a program to redistribute wealth, and in some ways, and he also.
But anyone who voted for the president should have known that.
They should have known that, and of course, the costs are going to increase. I think he might be underestimating the impact of these tax increases on job growth and the growth of capital. I mean, you can have a 60% increase in the capital gains tax when you add up to 3.8 plus the expiration of the Bush tax cuts.